coming. You guys can hear me okay? Yeah, I am so excited about this event tonight. Y'all came really deep, and I love it. I always have to apologize for the heat, but we gave y'all mini church fans, so you should be okay. You should be able to hear. So I'm so excited about this next guest because I've been following her for years before, I started creating Awkward Black Girl, before I started my second web series before Awkward Black Girl. And I remember discovering her through the site Shadow and Act. And she had this organization called Affirm, which is now Array, and they were hosting a Sundance dinner. And I remember, I think that was maybe in 2010. I can't see your face to verify, 2009 or 2010. But I remember just watching and being so impressed with what she was doing. And I went to go see her first movie, her first feature film, I Will Follow in Line. And it was about maybe a couple months into Awkward Black Girl. I think we released like 3 episodes. And I remember being in line for her movie, and she was out there greeting everybody. And I told this story before, but she was out there greeting everybody who was coming to her movie, just like, hey, you showed up, thank you, hey girl, good to see you, blah, blah, just doing making the government rounds. And then she got to me, and she was like, hey, how you doing? You look familiar. And I was like, oh no, I have one of those faces. And she was like, no, you have something, like, are you producing something? I was like, well, I have this series called Awkward Black Girl. She was like, yeah, that's it. That's funny. Keep doing what you're doing. And I remember just being in her movie, like, I mean, this is good, but this was better. So since then, I've just been so proud of her. Even when coming up with questions for her, like, I was just sitting up there going through a lot of her accomplishments, like, just go. Just kill it. So I'm gonna read her official bio and then bring her to the stage. So nominated for the Academy Award and winner of the BAFTA for Best Documentary, Ava DuVernay's 13th is one of the most critically acclaimed films of 2016. It was one of the most critically acclaimed. She's already moved on, y'all. She's already doing more. In 2015, DuVernay directed the historical drama Selma, which garnered 4 Golden Globe nominations and 2 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. Her current directorial work includes the award-winning dramatic television series Queen Sugar, which comes back in June, so quickly, and the upcoming Disney feature film, A Wrinkle in Time. Winner of the 2012 Sundance Film Festival's Best Director Prize for her previous feature, Middle of Nowhere. DuVernay's early directorial work includes I Will Follow, Venus Versus, This Is the Life. She also distributes and amplifies the work of people of color and women directors through her film collective, Array, named one of Fast Company's most innovative companies. Please welcome to the stage, Ava DuVernay.
Thank you.
So I wanted to have, thank you so much. I wanted to have the Kendrick music cue element.
That would have been, and I got to walk up in slow motion and the whole,
and bouncing.
That's nice.
You have a quote on your Facebook, which I think is riveting. You say, I don't do it for the gram, I do it for content. It's so real. And before we start, I just want to acknowledge, like, the LA-ness of this conversation.
It's so good.
First of all, you were born in Long Beach,
Yep.
raised in Compton.
Yep.
You're Linwood, Compton.
Yep, Linwood, Compton.
You're sitting here in Inglewood with us, talking to someone who was, raised in View Park, and there was another LA aspect.
UCLA.
Of course, you said you went to UCLA.
Yeah.
So just before we get into it, how much does LA influence your work?
Well, first of all, before we get into it, let me just say, so proud to be here in your space. You know what I mean? Just so happy. I literally walked down here and just felt a little emotional because I feel like I've known you for a long time, like so many of us feel like we've known you for a long time personally. We don't even know each other that well personally. We're very warm to each other when we see each other. We're super, super close on Twitter. We'll see each other at the occasional photo shoot or award show, and in between just encouraging each other. But I was really happy to be invited here today, and then to see your workspace and your gathering space. It's a beautiful thing. I'm proud of you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for those words, but we have to toast first.
Okay.
Mix that up. So you don't drink.
No.
We put a little bit of
Avion
water in
Okay,
there.
yeah.
But I do. So I want to cheers.
Cheers to us.
To us.
Yes. To you. Yeah.
Woo, that was breakfast. So yes, going back to LA, having been born and raised here, what is it about here that kind of influenced your decision to be a part of this industry?
Well, I love LA so much. I actually just got back on the red eye last night, very, very late last night. And as we just landed, and I was just here, I just thought home. I had to gram it, IG story. I just said home, sweet home. It just feels great to be here. There's something really, I don't know, the energy around LA when I don't think home is necessarily the place where you were born. Home is the place where there's some kind of chemistry or energy that really kind of amplifies you. And for whatever reason, LA is that for me. Living in the, not even the mid-cities, what would you call Long Beach and Linwood and Compton?
Super South LA.
What? What is it? Hub City is what my Compton crew down here say. So living over there and growing up over there and then going to UCLA and finding myself in the industry. The great thing about it is you start to know LA, the industry LA, and then because we grew up here, we know the real LA. I think what's so beautiful now is with storytellers like you, like me, like others, we're able to connect the two. Because really the world's view of what LA is not really, that's like 6 miles. The real LA lies outside those borders where real people are having real lives. And just the energy of it, I love it. I can't see myself living full-time anywhere else.
Yeah.
I've lived other places for short amounts of time, but this gives me my creative juice. Yeah.
So you have this whole ass career as a successful publicist. Like you started off as a journalist, and then segued into being having your own publicity company.
Yeah.
And then made a documentary.
Yeah.
While you were still repping clients.
Yeah.
And what made you decide, one, I can do this.
Right.
I can make a documentary.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
And two, to take that step to be like, oh, I have a career. I know that I'm good at this, but I'm gonna take a risk and we tend to be in our own heads and possibly be bad at something that I haven't tried before.
Right. Well, the first risk was doing publicity because no one in my family worked in the industry at all. And it was really, the encouragement of my parents that said, you can get into publicity from journalism. Journalism was the first thing that I was pursuing. I was an intern on the OJ unit. So I'm about 10 years older than Issa. So internship, it was a really prestigious internship that everyone wanted at CBS News. And I got it. And I thought I was going to be in the newsroom, producing news, being the black woman Walter Cronkite. And they had me camped outside this lady's house. She actually lived in South Central, which I think is why I got the job. Sorry to turn my back to you all. Which is why I got the job. They're like, oh, she's from South Central. She won't be afraid to go camp outside this lady's house. So literally, I was camped outside this woman's house. She was a juror on the OJ trial. And at one point, I was just like, this is whack, this isn't right. And when they asked me to look through her, I think the memo was, do not be afraid to look through on the porch, the surrounding area, and in the trash receptacles.
Wait, just you by yourself looking through her?
Yeah, just looking through the trash. Well, no, there was reporters people from every news outlet were outside this woman's house. Everyone had somebody outside these places to try to get these people because it was a big, big story at the time. So anyway, that made me disenchanted with news. I moved into publicity as another way to kind of make news, but from the other side, with something that I love, movies, because I'm a super, super movie nerd. And it was my mother and father who really encouraged me, go ahead, try it. I did well in that industry really young. I opened my own agency when I was 27. And the transition into film came because I was on a whole bunch of film sets. a lot of film sets, and I was watching these white men direct. I never saw a woman direct. I did over 76 films, and I never put publicity for 76 films, and I never saw a woman direct. And so I'd be watching these guys do it, and I'd be like, this is it? This is, this is what it is? Because, I mean, I can do this, you know? I can, and I would watch, and so I started to watch, and I started to listen to more conversations, and I started to travel with them, and I started to volunteer for everything, and I started to just make sure that as the publicist, I was in meetings and watching things, and really that was my film school. And so I used that job, and I stayed with that job for my first 3 films. So that's when people talk about risk. How did you move from publicity to filmmaking? I didn't for a long time. I held on to both. I think that's the thing. So many people are like, oh, I want to act, or oh, I want to sing, or oh, I want to direct, or oh, I want to write, or oh, I want to do whatever it is, and you think it all has to happen right now. It does not all have to happen right now. You know, faith is taking steps, right? And so you just walk in those steps and know that it's leading you to a certain place and enjoy the steps. You know what I mean? So I just enjoyed every single piece of it. And at one point I had to make a decision. Am I going to be full-time filmmaker or full-time publicist? I can't straddle because I was on my 3rd film. I was at Sundance and I was publicizing some studio films at the same time with Middle of Nowhere. And so when Middle of Nowhere won Sundance and I decided that I was going to distribute it myself, with Participant, I said, okay, I'm gonna bet on myself and do it.
Can you talk about, like, because there is the leap that you have to take, and that leap can be scary. You know, that you can walk in the steps and you can say, you know, I'm trying both of these out and I kind of have a hold on them, but, you know, eventually you decided, look, I gotta put this aside, I gotta quit this successful agency that I started. And can you walk us through your thought process there? When you decided officially, I'm not Ava the publicist anymore, I'm gonna be Ava the director?
Yeah, I mean, I can only say it was layered, it was gradual. I fully had in my head that I was a director, and I fully had my day job because I had to pay my bills. And I tried to stay in a place of both for as long as I could. Like, I would still be doing publicity if I could. I said, I'm gonna keep doing that until this pays my bills. You know, and that was the way that, in terms of real life risk, I was able to mitigate the risk. Now, my own internal creative risk, making a film and putting my name on it and having it reviewed in the trades by journalists who I'm pitching to my clients, having my clients maybe laugh at me or not, or be like, what are you doing? You're making a movie. You know what I mean? So I did it, a lot of it in secret. So clients, I remember one client called me and she's like, for my very first documentary, which is about the Good Life Project Blow movement here in South LA on Crenshaw. And a client at Warner Brothers called me. I was repping something for them on home video. And she's like, can you believe somebody else has your name? And I was like, what? And she's like, this woman has your name. There's an article in the trades. It's a review for a movie. I mean, what are the odds? I was like, I don't know. That's so crazy. Really? I gotta look into it. So I really, that was the risk. The risk was putting my name on it and putting my creative stuff out there, telling people that I was doing it. That was the scary part. The doing, of course, is scary because you don't know what you're doing. Oh my gosh, my first film was a little short that I made called Saturday Night Life, which no one will see. And it was about my mom. And so someone had told me you can the cheapest way to make a film is to keep it all in one place. Right. So, and not move. And so my very first short, I kept in one place. And my very first feature, I Will Follow, was all in a house. But the short was about a memory that my mom had when she was a single mom. She had 3 girls, and she had found herself single. And she would sometimes get depressed and down on herself, not being able to do for us what she wanted and just the place where her life was. So she would dress her 3 girls up in the best Sunday clothes she had, slick her hair down with pink baby lotion, make us really shiny and beautiful, 3 little girls, 4, 2, and 1, right? Go get herself dressed and walk through Alpha Beta. You guys won't know, but a store in the hood at the time. And she would walk through the store and people would say, oh my goodness, your girls are so beautiful. Oh, you should be so proud. And they would give her what she needed at that moment. So that's what the short was about. Shout out to Mom, who's right here. But that's what the short was about. And so to tell people in the industry that I was working with, I'm going to go make this short, or to say I'm going to go make a film called I Will Follow about my time with my aunt before she passed away, it was just something that I wasn't willing to do out loud. I kept it private. And I think that's another thing that I could just share. You know, we're in an Instagram, social media culture, and we got to feel like we always got to be sharing what we're doing.
Right.
But there's something about growth in privacy that I think is healthy until you feel strong enough to share.
That's a word.
Yeah.
So you just having this established career in advance, you know, you started your film career, your new career a bit later, you know, later than others.
Yeah.
And I always say to myself,
I was nervous about that too.
I'm sure.
I was nervous about that too because there were a lot of other, when I was out with I Will Follow, there was a lot of people just getting out of NYU and just getting out of film school, and I didn't go to film school ever. So I felt insecure. You're not the only funny one, Issa. I felt some kind of way about that. I felt some kind of way of being older because I didn't pick up a camera until I was 33.
Well, can you talk about just, because I always say if I had success
People are like, damn, how old is she now?
No. If I had success like any younger than I did, then I would have been an industry hoe. Like I would have been saying yes to everything as opposed to like making yeses.
Right.
Like they'd be like, do you want to do a KFC commercial? I'd be like, yes, please. Just like in I don't think I would have had the same discernment. So how do you think being like older helped you to make better decisions?
Just as you said. I mean, I think because I'd worked in the industry as a publicist, I was not enamored by red carpets because I used to roll the red carpets with my hands. Like, I was a person who made the red carpet for stars to walk down. So when I walk on a red carpet, I'm like, oh, that's an 18 pile. They got it from such and such. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, oh, they probably got, like, I knew the vendors. First time I started walking on carpets, like, people would be shouting, Ava, Ava. Because they knew me. They were like, what's up, Ava? Because I used to book them on the carpet. So, you know, and even when I went to the Oscars for the first time, as a filmmaker for Selma, it wasn't my first time. Like, I'd been there 6 times before as a publicist, walking people down. So my whole view of all of that is I've been, like, behind the curtain, and then you walk out front, and you're like, oh, okay. But you know all that other piece? So that helped me a lot, because nothing is really that bright and shiny to me. Like, it's... I can see what it really is, and I find more comfort and more pleasure in doing my work, you know, being able to put my crews together and tell my stories and sharing them with the audiences. That's why Ray is so important, Affirm was so important, spaces like this are so important, because even if all the rest falls away, and like 2 years ago they don't want to hear from black girls, and they're like, Issa who and Ava who, we can still have this. You know what I mean? We can still have these places and still have you. And that's why it's so important. Yeah. But that's how we both started, and I think that's why we both have a confidence, because we didn't come into the industry on anybody else's wings. We came in on a grassroots, do it yourself. I meet you outside my movie and shake your hand. Yep. I saw your thing on YouTube and gave a few dollars I had. Like, you know, we started from that base, and we know we can always go back there.
Well, that's what I also want to talk about.
So that's
too,
a good comfort level.
Because I love, one of the things I always love is just your do it attitude. And one of my favorite speeches ever is one that you gave. Just about, and I use it in like casual parlance with my friends, but just the smelly coat of desperation.
Right.
Have you guys seen that speech?
No.
Okay, so even better. So the gist of it was, and I don't know if you want to.
No, please. You probably would say it much better.
You know, as creatives, we tend to want to sometimes network up and ask people for help and say, can you help me do my thing? Can you help me do that? Like, that's the initial conversation we have, as opposed to finding out how we can make it happen for ourselves. And in that search for, can you help me do this? It feels like just you're wearing a smelly coat of desperation that everybody is just like, I can tell you need it a little too bad. So to me, that really just stood out to me, because I was like, I wonder how many smelly coats I've worn just in life. But I'm wondering, just for the purposes of you, like, can you identify a time when you've had the smelly coat and when you were able to get the stench off? Yeah. I used to have the smelly coat on. It's a real thing, because I can tell when people come up to me and just have the desperation of, can I give you my card? Can I get a coffee with it? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can you see me? Can you tell me this? Can you tell me something? And that energy that you're putting towards that striving is energy that you're not putting into, you know, your script, your rehearsal techniques, your, you know, studying your craft, whatever it can be. And so it's outside of you, because it depends on somebody else doing something for you, and you can never be empowered that way. And I was doing that so hard, and nothing happened for me. I had I Will Follow in the middle of nowhere and some docs in between.
But between I Will Follow was not the first script I wrote. Middle of Nowhere was the first script I wrote. And I was taking it out and I was shopping it in the traditional way, like trying to get big name producers on and trying to get big name actors on, and was able to get some of that up and running, was able to get in some rooms and pitch, and just the pitch was just such a pride swallowing thing, right? Because I was walking in there so desperate. I mean, so psyched out in my head and so desperate and so thinking that those people on the other side of the table were more important or had more value than I did. And none of it worked. It was maybe 2 years of really, really bad depression because I wanted to be directing so, so badly. I knew publicity was a beautiful thing and a blessing to have that job, but when you want to do your art so much that it hurts, it was actually hurting me not to do it. And I couldn't figure out, I didn't know about the independent black scene. I only knew about the independent white scene. And I didn't know, not that there wasn't one, but it certainly is not as robust as it is now. And because everyone was spread out. Some people were doing it in New York, some people were doing it in Seattle, some people in Philly, some people here, some people there, but everyone wasn't together. You talked about Shadow and Act. It started to be a place where I started a firm right around the same time Shadow and Act, around the same time that it just started to build. You were doing your thing. It all started to happen around the same time. So it's interesting about like a collective energy of people that are like, we're done with this old way, we're doing it a new way, and didn't even know each other. But it really was the turning point when I went to my documentary. That was before I started pitching the movie. My documentary went to a small black film festival in Seattle called the Langston Hughes African American Film Festival. It doesn't exist anymore in the same way that it did. Doesn't exist anymore in the same way that it did at that time because they've had funding issues, unfortunately. But it was beautiful and huge, and I saw black people around film, and I thought, gosh, there has to be another way to do this other than knocking at, no disrespect, I mean, why am I even saying no disrespect? Knocking at the white man's door, okay? And so, knocking on the door, asking for permission to go in their door and go into their house instead of building our own house. So that's when I started thinking about that, and just all started to come together for me around that time. I can't pinpoint the exact moment, but when I think back, and I thank you for the invitation to do so, it was right around that time, that film festival, and then I just started to put one foot in front of the other. What do you have to lose? I mean, what are they gonna do? Take you over their knee and spank you? Like what? If you fail, you fail. You know what I mean? If you fail, you just fail. You try again.
Well, the attitude has gotten you to break so many records just as a filmmaker, as a black person, as a black woman. You're constantly, like your name has so many firsts in front of it. And I wonder how that has, one, affected, how people talk to you now and approach you to do things. And then just on the other end, you've also used that to bring up other filmmakers and shine the light on other creatives in a really positive way. So it's like, it's not just me. Look at who else is doing other amazing things, and look at who else you should be paying attention to. And in doing that, you've also changed the conversation and taken ownership of the conversation about diversity and inclusivity. And so how does that affect the way that you're approached now by big studio heads and executives?
It's different. Yeah, I just didn't think the first thing is interesting, which I'd be interested to talk to you about, just in an exchange, and how that is for you, because you have that as well. It doesn't really, it doesn't sink into me, and like I don't really think about it unless somebody says it. I don't know how it is for you.
I think I'm the same way.
Yeah, when somebody says it, I'm like, okay, yeah. But also, I've said before, I feel like it's bittersweet because, this didn't become invented because we came. People have been doing this, sisters have been doing amazing work for decades before us. And it just happens to be a time where there's a real deliberate and focused light on us, and we have the formats and the platforms to move in a different way. But, my work's no better and certainly lesser than the magnificence of a Julie Dash or a Ezine Palsy or a Nima Barnett or a Casey Lemons or a lot of the other women who came before us. And probably the same for you in television. So, when I hear first, I'm like, first that you decided to make first. You know what I mean? But not really first for us. So I kind of just I just take it with that kind of grain of
Does
salt.
it make you kind of uncomfortable too, just those conversations?
What, the conversation, the first
I mean,
conversation?
yeah, just the first conversations, especially given the fact that you are championing like other people. You're like, well, what about this person? What about this person?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm aware enough to know that it's getting me through doors and opening some doors, and I'm going to use that. I just feel like, gosh, it's just no fun to be at the party alone, right? Like, this is fun, right? Do you want to just be on the stage by yourself? This is like the best stage I've been on in a long time because I need to get to talk to my sister about it. But if she wasn't here, if she wasn't here because I'm trying to throw shade or block or be like, her show ain't all that and she should have stayed on the internet or whatever. The things people say, you know what I mean? If you're trying to block that instead of opening up and being like, wow, look at, I mean, some of the best moments have been like, we did that Essence cover.
Yeah.
It was me, you, Shonda, and Mara. I can't remember that. To see that cover and to have dinner together after has a better memory than all the solo covers because we were together and that's a statement, that's something. So yeah, I know that the first thing and all of that, helps to get through the door and opens the door wider so that more people can come. And that's what we do with Array. That's what we do with, hiring all women directors on Queen Sugar. Every time I have an opportunity, and I know you do too, trying to mob in before they throw us all out. Because it's harder to throw all of us out than just one. How about that? They're not going to take us all down, are they? That's a lot of scrapping. Can't take us all. Yeah.
Well, I also love that you're like super just giving, the sharing and cover, and then I remember being in one of your amazing short films with Lena Waithe. And
oh my gosh, that was so fun.
We were just so honored to be like,
that was
shit.
so
and we
fun.
had like a cameo look, like the camera got to us, and of course we did the most with our look. Like,
you had a slow-mo? I put you in high speed.
It was
yes, with the music over. She looked over her shoulder like, what? Yeah, it was good. It was good. That short is called Say Yes, if anybody wants to check it out. It's a fun one.
And I feel like you're super just plugged into the conversations happening around you on Twitter, just via all social media outlets. Like, you're constantly aware of what's being said. And I mean, I'm sure I can attribute some of that to your publicist background, but how does that also shape a lot of the business decisions that you make moving forward?
Yeah, I think, social media I think it's the same way. Publicity might have something to do with it because I'm not afraid of press. I think a lot of people that get into a public situation start to become afraid of the press, sitting down, doing an interview. I know a lot of my clients would say, how do I defend myself if they ask me a question I don't want to answer? Be like, I don't want to answer that question. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, just a fear of what's going to be written. And I just never approach press that way, and I don't approach social media that way. Like, I got on early. Actually, a mutual filmmaker friend of ours, Matthew Cherry, is the one who he was like, dude, you need to be on Twitter. I was like, what? What's Twitter? I don't have time for that. And he was like, no, you get on and you talk to people. I was like, in 140 characters, what is this? What is this? Why can't we have more room? I don't understand. And he was the first, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. He was the first one to say, plug into it, it will help the films. You don't have money to promote the films, get into it. So that's how I started to get into it and having conversations. But I think it's so important. How can you make great stuff if you're not listening to, if you're not listening, if you're not with people, then how can you make something for the people? And that's what I want to make. Right. So then you become disconnected and you start, I don't know. I mean, I know we can all name some actors or producers, a few come to mind, that started in a place where it was really rooted with people. And as they got money and fame, they started to move. Huh?
They get brand new.
And they move from the people, and now their stuff is whack. And it's like, it's because they're not listening to us anymore.
Yeah.
So.
How do you decide?
I mean, being on Twitter too much, though.
No, I don't.
What's your preferred platform?
I love Twitter, but I love to read Twitter more, and I'm still.
You use it as like a news feed?
I use it as a news feed. I plug into. There's a couple people that I follow who stand for the same people I do, so I go to their pages to get the updates. But
Okay.
I'm an observer. I'm a lurker. I'm a creep.
Yeah. I see you doing your IG stories though. Those are good.
Yes, you have really good IG stories. Like,
Yeah, I try to.
keep it plugged in. I feel like I'm getting a behind the scenes, you know.
I consider it a film that I'm just making, putting out scenes of the film. But it's great to keep in touch with people that way.
No, it is, and it's a way for people to feel like they are also a part of your journey, which I feel like a lot of people do. And you also
because they are
a lot of voices just via social media. How do you decide whether or not you're gonna, one, take on a project, and two, take a chance on new voices and new creators of color?
I think the thing I'm always really looking for is rigor, because a lot of people have talent, but not a lot of people have rigor and discipline. So just because you have a script, okay, what are you doing with it? Just because you have talent, okay, that's the first thing that I ask. Someone says, I'm an actress, what can I do to audition? I said, do you study? Study. Yeah, no, I took a class back in the, no. Do you study? Are you studying your craft? You know what I mean? How many scripts do you have? Just the one? You know what I mean? What else do you know what I mean? Just what are you doing to move it forward other than waiting for someone to do it for you or asking me or you or whatever to do it for you? That's what attracts me. And that's what the smelly coat. When you take that off, you start wanting to do for yourself. So when you meet someone, you're like, I am this person. I'm doing this, and this. I'd love you to take a look at something I've done. Or, I'm doing it this far. Can you tell me how to get a bit further? Those are the conversations I love to have, to see what people are doing with what they have, where they are. That's the most exciting stuff. When I look back at Awkward Black Girl, those first couple episodes, I don't know, you had not a lot. Funny as hell, you know what I mean? Because you were using what you had, and there was authenticity there. It was so real, and you just wanted to ride with that.
It was just broke energy, honestly.
It was.
It was broke. I was very broke.
It was. But was it broke energy?
I think you're more creative when you're like, I don't have...
No, nothing. What are they going to do? Right?
What are they gonna do?
There's nobody looking at. That's the best time.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And you're what?
I was talking a lot of mess about what I wasn't seeing, and I felt like this is my chance to just put it out there so I can continue talking mess. But that brokenness also makes you creative in a way that...
Because you don't have anything to lose.
Yes.
Would you say, I look back at my early independent films and I say that might be the time, other than now, and there's maybe about 5 years in the middle where I didn't feel as free. I mean, I always felt free and tried to do my own thing, but I feel very free now, and I felt very free in the beginning when no one cared.
Yeah.
This is an amazing time when no one cares. You can do you can do the you always wanted to be that's not really you. You can experiment. You can do whatever because no one's checking for it. No one's judging. Once you can get past that risk of what's my mama and my friends and my coworkers gonna think, which is a thing, I had to get past. Once you can get past that and you're just doing it, the freest time is before it's sold, before anyone's looking, and to just revel in that time.
Well, you're way past that now. Your first film, I Will Follow, was $50,000.
Yeah.
And now you're just finished, but you're doing in post-production for Wrinkle in Time. That's $100 million. So how does it feel? One, to think back about that, you just said there was this amazing period where I can make a film for $50,000 if it feels like whatever, I did it at the end of the day, to, oh shit, all eyes are on me. I'm the first Black woman to do this shit. What's going through your head right now, and how do you calm yourself down, if you're even revved up at all?
That's interesting. Nobody's asked me that question. I feel like when I was on the set making A Wrinkle in Time with all the resources and anything we wanted to have, and really the backing of Disney and the support of go do you, we want to support it. First I was super suspect. I was like, okay. They're going to come in here any minute, pulling plugs and whatnot. And every step of the way, they were just like, what else can we do for you, Miss DuVernay? I was like, what? I mean, it was just a constant, supportive thing that I feel a lot of my white male counterparts have had the privilege of experiencing before. And they get it all the time. And I didn't even know, I didn't even know how to act. I was like, they'd come in the door and I'd be like, what? What you got to say? And they'd be like, we just want to know if you'd like extra cameras today. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I do. I want to. It's like that. And so it's interesting when you really break it down, like how much, it's the colonized mind, It's really the way in which we've been trained to think about what we deserve and what our value is, and having to ask for that permission and prove what we, and our counterparts don't have to do that and don't have to even think about it. And so it was training myself to do that, but also just on a technical level, I feel very prepared and very, it wasn't hard. It was very easy. I was telling somebody the other day, they were like, how was it going from this amount of money to this amount of money, which they never asked the men. But I said, well, I liken it to going into the mall with $5. I know how to shop on $5, and going into the mall with $5 million. I know how to shop on $5 million. You know what I mean? You gotta figure it out. It's okay. It wasn't harder. You know what I mean? Right. Yes, the crew is 10 times as large, and yes, there's more things to think about. But it comes down to you and the actor, and how do you want to move the camera, and the same storytelling techniques as you use on I Will Follow, right? Mm-hmm. And so, because the bottom line is, you can have all the bells and whistles, and we've seen films where things blow up and fly and do all kinds of crazy stuff, and it's whack because the story is whack. So the bottom line is just get the story right, then put all the bells and whistles on. So that's how I approached it, and I found it to be just fine. And the other thing is knowing that if this doesn't work, my life's not going to end.
Right.
I will go back. I will say, Issa, can I use your basement? I see a scene, the lights, it's a club scene. They see each other from across the room. I say, I need some extras. I'll go out on Twitter. You all will come. We can do this. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
So, I've met a couple of your team members just along the way, and they always.
Why do you look so cool? And I'm friggin' sweating up a storm.
Is
there a fan on Issa? Because it's her place. I am like, thank you, Coast. Okay.
Thank you for that. While you're cooling down.
Now I'm looking like Oprah up in here with my own fan. Yes. Usually there's a man standing here.
Does anybody want to fan her? Does anybody want to get shows? So I've met a couple of your team members just along the way and over the years, and they've always had amazing things to say. What would you say is, because you're the face of everything that you do, but a lot of people don't see what's happening behind the scenes and how you're able to juggle so much. So who would you say is sort of integral to how you operate and how you move behind the scenes? Who would you say your core folks are?
Thank you for asking. Well, there's a small team at Array. There's 3 women that work with me. One of them here today, Chella Sutton, right here. Who's on her phone up a storm. Please don't. What are you doing? She's tweeting. She's a tweeting fool down there. She said it's Chella, who just joined us maybe 6 months ago. It's Mercedes Cooper, who handles all of our marketing. You might know Mercedes. And then there's a sister named Tulane Jones, who's really the glue. She holds it all together. And so she's out there now. She's doing panels and workshops around the world around Array. She's really becoming the face of Array much more than me, and she should, because she's brilliant. And all of these women started with me at the administrative level, so we've all been together and grown together as things have started to go. On the creative side, so that's the Array, the business side. On the creative side, I have an editor who I've been with forever. He's edited everything I've ever done. His name is Spencer Averitt. And then a couple cinematographers that I've worked with over the years, but my core kind of brother is Bradford Young. Yes. And we've made a lot of things together that just feels like home and family when we get together. And then beyond that, I guess, it was always hard for me to think of reps. Like having reps. Reps. Yeah. Mm-hmm. People say, my team, I want to thank my team, call my reps. I was like, that's whack. Don't do that. I don't know. It bothers me.
I get it too.
It bothers me when I see people get an agent and talk about reps. I have beautiful agents, all women agent team, by the way. But Ashley Holland's here somewhere, one of the sisters. But is a woman who actually has been with me as a guide, as a counsel to me since before I even started making movies, even when I was a publicist. And she always stayed with me, and she would say, Ava, darling, you can do whatever you want. If you want to do publicity, you can. If you want to try to make a little documentary about South Central people, you can. If you want to make a movie for $50,000, I'm going to help you. You can. Her name is Nina Shaw.
Yes.
Black woman, attorney, who has really been a professional wind beneath my wings in so many ways. I feel blessed by her. So that's the core.
So I have 5 minutes to ask you questions, and then we're going to turn to you guys to ask Ava whatever you want. I just want to know, just in terms of, like, we've seen your journey play out, like, how you feel like, what you feel like you've learned, what you feel like you weren't as great at before as a director, that you feel like now, like, this is what I do. This is, come for me, try me, test me. This is what I do the best. What is that about you?
I feel like I wish I had like like Obama as a translator, and it's the guy from Key and Peele. I wish I had Issa out there like just walking for me, like try me, test me. I'll say the regular thing, then she'll say what the real.
Come for me, I do this.
Yeah, come for me. Yes, I wish that. The thing that I've learned, I was super, super insecure because I had never, I didn't go to film school. So I didn't know a lot about the camera. I felt like I knew how to talk to people. I knew story because I wrote my scripts so I could talk with the actors about story. So I never felt uncomfortable with talking to actors and directing actors because I was a publicist, so I worked with a lot of actors, and I know that they're just people, and you just talk to them regular. Don't be all scared and intimidated. Just be like, nah, you got to do it again. Go back, come back again, you know? And they just want to get down to the root of their character and the story. So that was never too much of a problem for me. It was the camera. And knowing what to do with it, and being uncomfortable that I didn't have all the technical terminology. I mean, now, you know, I can nerd out with you about lenses and cameras like the rest of them. When I first started, I was really intimidated that I didn't have all that film school language. I didn't have that vocabulary of academia to talk about things in the same way. So that was really important. That's why Bradford Young was so important in me getting to a place now where I'm making movies without him, because the brother's busy because he's shooting Star Wars. Okay, you can't shoot. Okay, because you're shooting Star Wars. That's fine. I'm gonna let that pass because it's Star Wars. But on the next one, you're gonna. But yeah, it was because I had a black man there who knew my words as a black woman and did not need to hear it in terms of cameras and lenses. I could say references to art, literature, other films that we shared because we were of similar age and similar background, black stuff, you know what I mean? That I could just be like, I need it to look like, you know that in Belly? Yeah. When she walked, he'd be like, right. I say, when he came around the corner, and then, I need it like that. He'd be like, bet, hook it up over here. So, you know what I mean? I could talk in that kind of space to him until I could get to a place where, you know, I can now on the set of Wrinkle in Time, where I work with a beautiful, beautiful DP, Tobias Schliessler, very, very big DP, and I can speak to him, and now I can speak to him in his language of lenses and all of that, but I still prefer to make you go. I want you to go watch a movie called Belly. And I want you to see this scene. Like, now I can speak in my references by my choice and not from a place of lack, but from a place of empowerment. You need to know my references. Yes. Or you need to go watch what have you. And you want to surround yourself with people who are willing and excited to do that. And so that's what I've tried to do. But yeah, that was the thing. It was the camera for me. And I think the only lesson that came out of that is you don't have to know everything to do the thing that you know. I knew that I could direct movies. I knew I had stories to tell. And I knew I had enough of how to do it. I knew enough to get it done. The stuff that I didn't know, I was not willing to take the time to have to know that down to the bone. You know what I mean? I knew enough to have the confidence that I could get it on the screen in the way that I wanted, as long as I could find like-minded people who would be kind to me in the process. And I was able to find that. And so that's a big thing, is you have to find your tribe. You have to find those people who will ride with you, and who will build with you, and who will create with you from a place of brother and sisterhood, no matter their color, no matter what their background is. They're coming from the same like-minded place, which you did. Right. And that's how you move forward together. Because I can't think of anybody now who's enjoying a lot of success who didn't have a tribe. I look at you. I look at like Lita and Justin. I look at I look at Brad and that whole piece. I look at even Misha and Underground. Look at Kenya. He came from all that comic background and all those folks there. Even Barry or Jordan. Everybody's had some core of key homies around them who would be like, that's whack, but I'm gonna ride with you. You know what I mean? Or let's try it. Let's go out on the weekend and try it. Or I'll read that script. Or I'll watch you do this act. And it's so important.
I have one more question. I'm good. And then I'll turn it over to the audience. But you don't have to do the thing that you, say that one more time. You don't have to know everything to do the thing that you know?
Yeah, you don't have to know everything to I think I never said it before. Oh, somebody got that out there. Never said it before.
Everything to do the thing that you know. I think that's so
it was in the moment. I don't know what I said, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
Just because you're such a visionary and just, so on the cusp of things, I'm just curious to know who or what you have your eye on next.
Oh, to do next? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. This is a setup question, isn't it?
No,
I want to work with you, of course.
No, stop.
I want to work with you, Issa.
That was not a setup question.
No, I really want to work with you. I want to work with, now that I feel like I'm maybe to a place where I'm not, the main thing is I was very, in my mind, I felt like the window, and I think I'm feeling this less and less, but I feel like the window was open for a certain period. Not only did I have to bring as many people in with me as possible, but I also had to do as much as fast as possible. Because if it closes, I got all this out.
Right.
So I've made a lot of work in the last 5 years, and it's taken a personal toll, you know what I mean? Because I'm always working.
Always.
At the risk of, thank goodness I have family and friends who are like, my friends down there like, yep, Negro, you always working. You never want to do nothing or go out. But yeah, I'm always working, and so it's only because I've had like really, really true loved ones who've loved me through all the times I was like, I can't, I'm editing, I can't, I'm shooting, I can't, I'm prepping, I can't. But I see you, come to the premiere. You want to come to the premiere? Oh yeah, we'll come to the premiere. And they'd be like, okay, you good? You got your drink? Okay, I gotta go. You know what I mean? Like that's how the last 5 years have been. And it's been a place now where I feel like I don't have to try as hard to stay in. You know what I mean? I can slow down just a tad. Like I don't think anyone's gonna feel it but me. But I know how hard I go. I mean, last year I was editing the 13th, last summer, this time last year, through the summer, I was editing the 13th, we were shooting Queen Sugar, I was prepping A Wrinkle in Time, and in the middle of that, the Smithsonian African American Museum called and said, we want you to make a film. And of course, you should say no, crazy, because you got 3 things. And I was like, okay, of course. And so I was doing that on the weekend, like my days were split in 3, like I'm running around like crazy, and I loved it all, and I'm happy with how everything came out, but it wasn't the healthiest time for me. I wasn't treating myself the best that I should, because I had no time to breathe. So I think, right now I'm interested in just being more selective. Not that I wasn't selective before, I wasn't doing KFC commercials, but I was.
I didn't do it.
What'd you say?
I didn't do the commercial.
Yeah, but I was doing every good thing that came, and sometimes you can't do every good thing. You just have to do 1 good thing or 2 good things. You don't have to do it all. So I was kind of doing it all. So my goal is to just slow down a little, continue to be selective, do quality stuff, but less of it.
I live by the mantra, Ava has 24 hours in a day. You have 24 hours in a day. So what are you doing? So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. So fun.
So at this point,
Thank you.
Let's open it up to the audience to ask.
Issa should have her own show doing this, huh? You really should. Be like, Negro, I ain't got no time.
Say that again?
Start with Patreon or no?
Oh yeah, we can start with Patreon.
Does Patreon members have a question first?
Hi, Issa. Hi, Ava.
Hi.
I'm Janelle Thomas, the creator of Spoiled Chick Syndrome. Shirt on right here. Designed for women to empower, inspire. What would you say to all of us in the room to give us advice on how we can accomplish our goals?
Me?
Yeah.
How you can accomplish your goals?
Yes, we need your guidance. Just a little tidbit, a little something.
Yeah, how can you accomplish your goals? Well, I'll just go to the very, very, very key thing in a practical way instead of doing early stuff. You should wake up early.
Okay.
I wake up early. And most of the most productive people in the world, when you look at the major CEOs around the world, wake up early.
Okay.
They elongate their day. Yeah, I have 24 hours in the day. I sleep for the time that my body needs, and then I'm actually up trying to be productive. Now, because you're up early doesn't mean you're working early, but your mind is working early. The creativity is working early. I value the shower.
Okay.
It's a beautiful place. The water's coming over you. It's quiet. It's a vacuum from the world. And it really is the place where if you let it, it is a meditation place. It's a meditative space to walk into the shower asking yourself a question. And sometimes, usually an hour or so after the shower, something will come to my head or in the shower. Because it's like you're in a cocoon. You're a baby.
No devices, no
Huh?
anything. You don't have devices. You don't
In
have
the shower?
It's just you, yeah. It's just you.
No, I don't have devices. I don't have devices in the shower. I don't have devices in the shower.
I was agreeing.
Right. Yeah, no devices in the shower. No, you just. But when I think about the practical, like when I answer that question, because I can give you some answer, but I'm just telling you from my real life. I try to wake up early, and I use the shower. It's like a womb. It really is. If you can think of it that way and you use it as a meditation place, you go in the shower, you give yourself that 10 minutes. No one can call you. No one can tap you on the shoulder. No text. No social media. No nothing. It's just your time to think and answer your questions. And those are a couple of things that I do. But it's really putting those things into place into your life, which I've tried to do little by little, more and more as I'm trying to take better care of myself. And it makes me more creative. It makes me ready to work in a more productive way. I don't know if that answers your question. Great. Somebody gave me this. I like to wear shirts people give me. Yeah, thank you.
One more
So
picture.
just as a heads up before we continue the questions, just want to make sure y'all ask questions and not give y'all stories. So that's just disclaimer.
Another picture and question.
You didn't give your story.
No,
She's not talking about you.
I'm not giving you shade.
She's not talking about you.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Hi, you guys.
What do you?
I just had a question for you about you said Middle of Nowhere was your actual first script.
Yeah.
So did you kind of reel it back in with I Will Follow? Because you said, finances and kind of setting it in one place. Was it one of those things where I need to go back and try to,
Yeah, no, thank you for answering the question.
And how did you finance that first?
Right, so Middle of Nowhere was the first script I wrote, but I needed $250,000 to make it, I thought, at the very, very base level, and I did not have that. I did have some money that I was saving for a house. My mother kept saying, when I was 27, I had a house. I was like, that's not how she talks. She's very cool. But you need to be saving for a house. This is ridiculous. You don't have a house. A house. So I started saving for a house. And I'd saved about $50,000 over a few years for a house. And so when I couldn't get anyone in that desperate phase, anyone to finance Middle of Nowhere, I went back to that same mantra. Make a movie where you don't move. What is a movie that you can do all in one place? Because the money comes when you move. And so I asked all my friends, what could I do that doesn't move? Do a black 12 angry men. They're all in the jury room. They don't move. Make a black breakfast club. It's just get a school and they run around and they won't move. Make it literally I went online and was like, true. I was looking at every movie idea that had been done where someone didn't move. And then it was my mother who said, why don't you think about a time where you've been in a place in your life where you could not move? And think about where that was. And it was the time when I was the caregiver for my aunt Denise, who's since passed, but I was her caregiver in her final couple of years when she had cancer. And we were just in this house, and I narrowed it down even more to the day that I moved out of the house after she passed away. So I Will Follow all takes place in one day, a young woman who's moving out of her house, moving on to the next part of her life. And I made that for what I had in my account, which was $50,000. So I wrote a script based on what I had. I had a house, and I had the $50,000. And so I wrote a script that had the right number of characters to afford for actors, the right amount of, whatever I had, I backed into the number that I had. And I did the thing which people say never do, which is spend my own money. But you spent your own money for awkward?
For awkward and a lot of other things.
A lot of other things. Sometimes you... I hear you. Sometimes you got to do it. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Beandria, and I'm stealing a question from Aisha Harris, which is, when was the last time you saw yourself represented on screen, something you didn't make? And I have a writer question, which is, when you're directing something that you didn't write, do you prepare for it differently on set as director?
That's a great question. The first question is, when's the last time I saw myself represented?
Yeah, like on screen. In a television or a film, when did you see yourself represented?
Oh gosh, now what, Wednesday night, Thursday night? So fantastic now. I think people coming up after us aren't going to be able to say what we say, which is our story is, I didn't see myself represented, so I had to make this. It's like, nah, you saw yourself. You saw Awkward Black Girl. You saw Carrie. You saw Queen Sugar. You saw whatever. Atlanta. You saw all that stuff. You saw Moonlight. You saw Restless City. You saw all these beautiful films out there. So I think that's changing, but I feel like I see myself a lot now, which is a beautiful thing. It feels good. And the other question was a really good one, but I forgot it.
How do you prepare differently?
Oh, when I didn't write it. This is the first time, there's only 2 times that I've ever shot something that I didn't write. So I wrote I Will Follow, I wrote Middle of Nowhere, I wrote Selma, even though I don't have the credit for Selma, I wrote Selma. I wrote Word. Thank you. I wrote Queen Sugar, the first episodes in the Bible for that, and write what happens with that. The only things I didn't write were my episode of Scandal. It was the first time I did something I didn't write. And in that situation, I was just trying to serve Shonda. I just wanted to serve her words, make her proud, take all, it was like an orange. I wanted to squeeze every drop of juice for it until it wasn't even orange. It was just clear. So I did that. It was a great experience. And then this film is the first thing that I've not written pen to paper, but I've had to find the way that directors work with writers when they aren't pen to paper, which is so lovely. I would like this to happen. Okay. And then she writes it down. I was like, what? This is fantastic. I don't have to do it. And then someone to debate it. What if she did this? What if she did? Well, I don't know if she do that because of this. And be like, all right, but what if you try this? So having that kind of partner and working with the screenwriter, a woman named Jennifer Lee who wrote Frozen. So she wrote Wrinkle in Time, and we really worked on that script together from the base that she had to what it is now. And I just found it a really cool experience because I don't really like to write. I feel it's a blessing that I can, and I can do it pretty good. But my friend Ryan Coogler, one time I called Ryan, he's... Is that for his talent or for his fineness? All of it? Okay. So shout out to his wife, Zinzi. Shout out Zinzi. We'll keep it under control. But one time I called him up because I just like to check on friends. So I'll call when I'm driving somewhere, and I was like, hey, what's up? What you doing? And in that beautiful Oakland brogue, that just deep, deep accent, he was like, I'm not even gonna do it. But he said, I'm good. I'm having a good day. I was like, dang, you sound a little extra sparkle in your voice today. What's up? What are you doing? Because that's how I sound when someone calls me and I'm shooting. I'm like, I'm good. I gotta go. I'm shooting. It's like, what are you doing? He's like, at the coffee shop. I was like, oh, dang, it must be good. I was like, what are you doing? Getting coffee? He's like, nah, dog, writing. I was like, you're hyped to be writing at the coffee shop? He's like, yeah, it's beautiful outside. I'm by the window. It's like, yes, And he really enjoys that part. Do you like writing like that?
I do, in a coffee shop. Not in my home, but yeah.
In the you like to write in public?
Absolutely.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
With noise, yeah.
What if you were at a coffee shop and Issa Rae was writing a script and you walked in? You'd be like, ah! Yes, that's cool. So yes, there's people who like to write like that. I don't like to write like that. I feel it's a blessing and a gift, and I'm thankful for it. but it's not my first thing. So to be able to, all the ideas in my head, and be able to tell a writer, and they do that, like that's why I enjoy Queen Sugar, all the ideas. I wrote the first couple, I'll write a finale, but basically it's a whole room of people, and I say, hey, this is what I think it should do, and it comes back to me in a script, and be like, yes, this is dope. So it's fun if you embrace it. Yeah.
We have time for 2 more questions, ladies. Yes. Is that okay? 2 more?
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
My name is Danielle. I wanted to know, we always have those moments of self-doubt. So was there any time back in the day or even now when you're like, I just don't belong here? And then when did you get to that point when you were like, no, I do belong in this room. That's my seat at the table.
Right. Yeah, for sure I thought of those times that I don't belong here. I think a lot of those came with my previous career as a publicist. I felt I was walking in a space of like, I'm in their world, so I'm happy to be here, and I just got to keep my place and do my job and try to be 10 times better to keep my place. And it's really when I went away from that and started in this creative path in creating my own space that gave me the confidence so much that when I go into those spaces now, whether it's a room with all people who are not of color or a room with all people who are not women, I feel it doesn't bother. I acknowledge it. I'm like, this is whack, and you guys are all whack that we're looking like this up in here. But I don't feel like shook. I don't feel shook. And the only way I can say is because I built the foundation of my own first, so that when I walk in there, I feel like I have a home. This is not my home. I'm here doing this because I choose to be. And that I have another place to go that really nourishes me. And that's why I say tribe and your own thing is so important. And even if you're working within a corporate environment, or even if you're working in other spaces, like there's a wonderful sister here named Kirby Bumpus right here. And she works in, like, I marvel at her because she works in corporate space. Like she works in spaces where everyone may not look like her, or everyone may not be a woman or be of color or be from her background. But you have to walk in with a sense of your own ownership, that you own that seat. If you ain't sitting in that seat, there's a problem for them. Let me just tell you one last thing. I know we gotta go. This is a big, big thing that I learned. I try to tell the people this all the time. You may experience this as well. So you have to hire people now, right? You have to hire writers. You have to hire crew. You have to hire people to run this place.
All of that.
All of that. So I have all of that too. And you sit down, and it wasn't until I was on the other side of the table that I realized it all just clicked in. I was like, I wish I could tell people this. When you go in for an interview, the person on the other side of the table, us now, wants you to be the one so bad. Because we need somebody's ass to do this work that's not us. Like we don't want to do, we can't do it all. We need someone to do it. We need someone great to be that. And every time someone walked in the door, I would be like, please be the one. But you walk in there, and I used to walk in there like, I hope they like me. I hope I'm this. I hope I'm that. You know what I mean? And the people that I'm most attracted to are the people that walk in with their own sense of self-value and say, I am the one who can do this job for you. That is such a huge thing. When you're going into an interview and you're shook and nervous, it wasn't until I was on the other side that I was like, and I could see it, they're so shook and nervous. It's like, God, if you could just sit up and just tell me why you're great. Tell me how you can help me. You know what I mean? I would give you this job right now. But it's always mumbling and it's not feeling good because you just don't understand the dynamic. So if I could just share that with you, the next time you go into that interview, don't be an ass and an egotist, but just be confident in what you have to offer and know that you can always survive without the job, but that if you can represent who you truly are to that person, they may be an asshole and not do it, but more often than not, you're going to be able to show your authentic self, and if you are right for the job and if it is meant for you, it'll be yours. So
we have time for one more question, but I wanted to ask, would you like to choose the last question?
Me? This side didn't get to do anything. There's a lady in a hat that's been this woman in the hat, sister in the hat. She's been waving and waving.
Thank you for providing this space, Issa. It's an honor to be here. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, Ava, the 13th. That documentary, it sat with me like so long, even after the movie was over. So I have to ask you, as the person who pieced together all the footage and the interviews, how were you after that? So, yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I was in bad shape. My editor and friend Spencer Averick and I, it was about 1,000 hours of like racist, violent footage. And the year before that, making Selma, was, it's hard to tell actors, okay, you're gonna murder him. You're gonna beat him up, beat him until he doesn't, you know what I mean? To put together stunts with people being whipped on horses and like running for their lives and screaming in blood. At one point I was standing in Selma, Alabama, like looking at different colors of blood, and the prop master was like, do you want this color of blood and this color of blood? And I was talking about it in a creative, technical way, and I just started crying. I mean, I'm trying to match blood of my ancestors who were beaten on this very bridge to tell the story. And so it was tough those last two years, Selma to 13th. It was more than I probably should have done, because I saw a lot of bad, and it took a toll. So now with Wrinkle in Time, my biggest question is, should the creature fly at 30 feet or at 35 feet? Should Gugu Mbatha-Raw's gown be lace, or should it be velvet at the bottom? Should it be whatever? Like, I'm doing costumes and flying and visual effects, and like, I'm just so happy because no one's hurt. No one's being hurt and in this film. And there's a lot of comments in the film about all the ways that we hurt each other, the lightness and darkness in our lives, but it's not physical, and it's not having to do with the burden that society has made us bear because we're brown. And so, the center of the movie, in the book, it's a sweet little white child, and I'm sure she's so sweet. But in Middle of Nowhere, in Wrinkle in Time, it's a brown girl, so it's a black girl who's at the center of the movie. And in the book, there's these three misses, these women, these mystical women who guide her through her journey throughout the universe. You've not seen any images like this of a little black girl traveling through the universe, traveling through time and space. That's why I wanted to do it. And so in the book, they're described as like, they look like three Mrs. Doubtfires, like just three of them. But in our movie, it's Mindy Kaling and Oprah and Reese Witherspoon, different sizes and cultures and ages of women. And so that was an anecdote to the 13th in Selma, because it was a hard time. Thank you for asking the question, appreciate it.
Ladies, really quick, Issa, before you guys get out of here, our sound guy just wanted to say a quick thank you. Oh.
Ladies, I just want to say thank you very much to both of you for having me on your sets. Without you, there would be no me. I worked on Awkward Black Girl, Middle of Nowhere, the 13th, and the list goes on and on, but I just want to say thank you for just putting me on, and you do give back.
That's an important thing about hiring each other. You know what I mean? Hiring each other. These crews, when you start to, if any of you are interested in production, it's really hard. They'll say, we can't find any black people. It'll be like, I'll go find some. Right. I'll be back. You know what I mean? Because it's a real thing. Black, brown, women, there aren't a lot, and so you really have to reach out and find and bring each other up, bring each other along. So it's an honor to do so. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Ava, thank you for being
Sorry. Appreciate it. Thank you.